By the way, a minute of angle.
Yeah. One
like the accuracy.
Like the first one hit, the second one went in the same hole.
I built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the realest to try. My family.
Episode 123, Pulling the Podcast. No, episode 123, Pulling the Thread Podcast.
We did that last week, man. You're so... Yeah. Now you're doing it. It's
okay,
crazy.
Have you watched any current events? Are you aware of anything that's happened in the last 7 days?
I don't know. Do you want me to really explain?
Yes.
Want me to really explain what's going on in Iran?
Yeah.
You really? Are you sure?
Wait, explain it to me. What's going on in
Iran? I'm going to explain it to...
Israel's trying to rebuild their map?
I'm going to explain it to Brandel so maybe he can understand. Okay, Brandel. About 2 months ago, Israeli commandos flew into a little bit of Syria, but mostly Iran.
We were told Syria.
They flew into there
in old helicopters
because there was a missile. There was a factory that was building missiles to hit Israel. Okay, these commandos flew in. This whole facility was underground, so they couldn't hit it with they couldn't just hit it with bombs. They had to go in. They went in. They used forklifts to smash open the doors to get inside and be able to blow this thing up. It's all on video. You can look this up. They did this. The commandos went in.
I always say that. Like if you're gonna rob this place, I have bolt cutters all over the place. Fucking shovels all over.
So the commandos went in and blew this place up. This facility built underground to protect it from being bombed. Okay. Now, Iran has their centrifuges in this. I don't even know the name of it. Fuma fuck fark tard.
Fordow.
200 feet below ground. 200 plus feet below this mountain. Okay? Now, we start to go into talks with Iran. Us and Israel. Okay? Trump is like, we're not going to go to war over this. It's off the table. We're not going to do this. Israel goes, the only people that have the capability to touch the stuff inside this mountain is the United States. That's it. They're the only ones. The B1 has to do it, or B2 has to do it. We're the only ones that can do it, okay? But we're not talking about doing it. We're telling the Iranians, not so much. Israel immediately says, guess we'll send in commandos. Commandos can do it. Now, if you're Iran, right, you have this base that you think is kind of untouchable.
Well, they really think it because they've been showing the shit out of it for the last couple years.
You think it's kind of untouchable because how deep it is. But then again...
It's like, nah, you cannot get this.
But then again...
But one day, he'd get this.
America made a cannon that shoots T-shirts and a semi-automatic dollar bill thrower for strippers. Who knows what we got stored wherever, right? Okay, so... Let's get up to the date. Let's get up to the couple of days prior to the bombing. What did Iran do? Did they install a bunch of anti-air systems around the facility? Did they increase the ability or likelihood to possibly shoot down aircraft that are trying to bomb the place? No. What they did is they removed those assets. They removed them because what am I going to do? They sent trucks.
16 dump trucks, huge ones.
They sent dump trucks. Now, people are like, oh, that means they move stuff out. Well, again, they kind of move stuff out. But what most dum-dums in this world don't understand is making nuclear fusionable material is not a lab project that you close into a briefcase and walk away with. The centrifuges really aren't movable. They're just not movable. Did they pull stuff out? Yes. You know why? Because we wanted them to pull stuff out. Because you have two things that go on. You have two things going on right now.
You need to be able to chase them for the next 20 years.
Well, one, nothing left or went into that facility over the last month that either the Israelis or the United States was not watching. And so now, whatever they pulled out of the facility that they have parked in Farouk's garage is totally vulnerable to whatever assets we want to use to take that thing out, whatever it is. Whatever they decided was the most important thing, and they put in Farouk's garage, we can now hit it with dumb weapons, okay? But what did the Iranians do? what the Iranians did was, because, again, dumb Americans are like, oh, they didn't do anything. There was nothing in the building. That's the first thing everybody's saying, is there was nothing in it, that the Iranians pulled everything out.
Who's saying? Octavio Cortez?
Yeah, dumb liberals. What the Iranians did and why those dump trucks were there is they closed up all the entrances with dirt. They closed up all the entrances with dirt. So they pulled some stuff out, went into Farouk's garage that we followed with a fucking satellite the whole way, and then they buried the entrances. Now, why did they bury the entrances? What did I open up with? The Israelis already said they were going to do a commando raid. They're not going to take, the Israelis aren't going to take fucking bulldozers on a commando raid to dig these entrances out so they could go in and blow this shit up, right? Iran did not believe for 1 minute that we were going to use our weapons on that facility. They thought it was going to be an Israeli commando raid. That's why they buried the entrances to that facility. Now, you don't bury the entrances to a facility that's empty. You only bury it because you don't want commandos to go in there and blow up the shit that is still in there. We dropped those weapons on that facility. By the way, a minute of angle.
Yeah. One,
like the accuracy.
Like the first one hit, the second one went in the same hole.
Like the accuracy on that fucking, on those whoever made the B-2 and that bomb needs to also start making sniper rifles. So we bombed it. Okay.
How come we haven't seen any footage of it?
Because they buried it.
No. Like, why haven't we seen the gun footage of it?
Oh, anything? I don't know. I don't.
Like, we've seen something they tell us is a satellite, and then I saw them digging out yesterday. Apparently, they dug out one of the entrances.
Yeah.
And it looked fucking pristine. Like, I don't know what was on the other side of it.
Well, because that's the thing. What most people don't understand is where they dropped the bombs was not on any of the entrances.
Correct.
It was on the facility itself, and so.
Yeah, I saw people saying, why didn't we bomb those big concrete structures? Those are like the intake facilities and stuff. Yeah. Because they're exposed. We can hit them with just an F-35 can take them out.
So basically that's what they did, is they denied them the capability of continuing using that facility. Now, you can argue, there is a legit argument that we didn't, unlike what Trump said, we didn't destroy Iran's capability to make nuclear weapons. Unfortunately, because of the Obama administration, that genie's already out of the bottle.
$250 billion.
All we can do is slow down the time it takes them to make a bomb. Now, what we're really trying to do is slow it down enough, and this is why everything that the Israelis have been doing inside Iran and everything that we have done inside Iran has been very strategic in nature, meaning we are only bombing military targets. Because what we're hoping for is those women and men in Iran that are going to attempt to overthrow their own government. That's what we're hoping is going to happen. That's why we're doing the thing we are. Because again, you cannot negotiate with the current regime, because the current regime is death to all infidels.
And he's 86. He's fucking on his way out.
So what we're hoping for is a new structure within Iran that is willing to come to the table and be like, we don't really need nuclear weapons as long as you guarantee our sovereignty.
So like we were saying earlier, walking in here.
I'm about to tell him.
Okay,
so I saw an interesting compilation this morning. It's Netanyahu over the last 20 years. And about every year, Iran is 2 weeks from having a nuclear weapon. Iran is 2 weeks from having a nuclear weapon. Iran is 2 weeks from having enough material to make 20 nuclear weapons. And you watch Netanyahu age over the 20 years. And most of it's taking place like at the White House. He comes to the United States to tell the current president Iran's 2 years from having, and this has been going on for 2 decades.
But when you look at those things and you think, you can only come to one conclusion: either he's lying, or they don't really know what they're talking about, right? If that is what you're watching. But if you pay attention to the reality of what is going on in the background, over the last, 50 years, between the United States and Israel, we have sabotaged their efforts to make nuclear weapons with either, like, Israel has used aircraft to strike their facilities. That's the reason why that one place is 200 feet underground, is because Israelis keep blowing their shit up.
Do you know what Stuxnet is?
No.
Okay, Stuxnet is it's a virus program.
Yeah, we use
and
that.
They use Johnson Electric valves and devices on all their stuff, right? So we or Israel invented Stuxnet, and they put it into their centrifuges, but it got loose, and it has affected all of the world, to include the United States, and we still have problems to this day off of this program that they let out in the wild to fuck up Iran 30 some years ago, I believe.
Yeah, it actually destroyed their centrifuge.
It did. Yeah, it overtimed it, and it spun so fast that it went out of balance, melted down, and destroyed the centrifuge. But we reap the fucking havoc from it.
Yeah, when you say we reap the havoc from it, though, what is the havoc? We haven't had a centrifuge off time explode. We haven't had a nuclear meltdown. It's kind of like I would say it's kind of like when we went from 99 to 2000. And everybody was worried that the computers would all shut down, and we would all when I look at it back now, I'm like,
were you there?
I was in your shop.
That's what I thought. There was 30 other dudes in the shop too.
When I look at it now, it's like, how stupid was everybody to think that the world was going to end over, like, even if it had been true, and the computers wouldn't have rolled over. It wasn't like today, where, like, if you think about today, if computers somehow just melted down, people would be jumping off fucking cliffs.
Yeah, it's very different now.
People would be jumping off cliffs.
But our concern was, like, because if the power if San Onofre goes offline, okay, a lot of power in San Diego came from San Onofre nuclear power plant. If those power plants go offline, you can't start them. You have to pull power from another power plant to start those nuclear power plants. So if the power was to go down, you can't just like light a fire and start a little fucking turbine and heat some water up and make some steam. That was the problem back then.
But even then, you think about it. Did you see any of the San Onofre when they were decommissioning it?
Yeah, I watched some of it.
They're still, if you looked inside that place, they were still like using knobs and fucking butt. So again, it
looks like Chernobyl.
What could have possibly happened in 2000 that, outside of the fact that, yeah, maybe you could have went to the bank and it had been like, sorry, you don't have any money here. But I don't know. It's one of those things where it
was the just-in-time delivery stuff, right? Even in 2000, you only had 72 hours. Back in 2000, you still had a back room at Walmart. So trucks were coming in 24 hours a day to your grocery stores. Water only ran in San Diego because of electricity. So if the water would go out, the sewer would go out, the electricity would go out. That was medications.
But that was in theory. That's the assumption that they didn't have the capability to override any of that. And I don't believe in 2000. Like, if you told me today that there was a virus, or not even a virus, but like all the programming stuff is not going to, in 2026, if we had the same scenario in 2026, I would truly be like, oh shit, we're in deep trouble. But in 2000, most people still were driving cars that had carburetors on them.
What was our concern?
I don't know. I do not know what our concern was. I think our concern was inflated. Again, at the time, our concern was inflated in the fact that if the chaos that could ensue if people weren't able to get to their money.
Well, we certainly were in a poor place for it.
I know.
we should have been in the desert or the mountains.
I know. I don't know.
We were sitting in fucking downtown Oceanside.
I do feel like, yeah, but
we had everything but a helicopter, fucking all of it.
And the problem too, when you think about that scenario, right? It was like everybody was expecting something to happen at 12:01,
and by 2 a.m. we're like, I'm going home to sleep.
Like at 12:01, and then it's like, wait a minute, is it 12:01 Pacific time?
Yeah,
or 12:01? Yeah. Like, it was this thing that we expected, like, I don't know, the cities to just start melting down.
We expected it to go,
and then just chaos in the streets. Which
I just remember sitting in my house with all my friends, like, This is it. Our parents are going to be poor. Everyone's going to be
Our parents are going to be poor.
more poor than they
Yeah,
were.
just an interesting scenario.
So,
So
like, how are we going to feed all these snakes?
I don't know. I don't think there's a thing.
I hope you're right.
I just don't think there's
Do you
a
ever
thing.
watch the YouTube videos of the like people getting together for having the parties in Y2K?
Yeah,
Like,
we were.
waiting for it,
We were.
filming
were.
it?
No, we didn't film it, but I mean, wait. I mean, you think even 2000, you were still like sitting in front of the computer.
Where were we getting our information from?
Probably the fucking internet.
Art Bell?
Probably the internet.
Yeah, you had to read it. There was no videos.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about 2000, we were still sitting in front of the computer for like 20 minutes, watching the bottom image of whatever it is you just downloaded come up.
The first thing when I came home from federal prison, the first thing I looked up on Mom's computer was HK MP5. And I think that was the first time like I'd ever actually seen. No, because we had computer at the shop.
Yeah, computer shop.
But I remember looking up. Maybe it was prior to that. The first time I remember the first thing I ever looked up on a computer was HK MP5, and it took like 5 minutes for that picture to show up.
Making all the noises and shit. I don't know. I don't know why we were.
Yeah.
The first one,
Jennifer
my
Aniston.
mom had a modem. You had to put the handset from the phone on the modem.
I guess this is what I would say to a guy like you, a young lad like yourself, Brandel, who hasn't lived through a lot of these things. This is what I would tell you. In my elderly years, in my years on this planet, we have died from so much stuff already that I wouldn't believe anything that anybody says it's going to end the world. We had a fucking oil crisis that was going to end the world. We had a glacier
Melting
freeze
snow caps.
that was going to end the world. A melting that was going to end the world. I mean, they have been ending the world
The
since.
asteroid thing that just
Asteroid,
posted.
yeah.
Did you see that?
No,
Like
tell
3
me.
weeks. Venus has 3 asteroids that are going around it, and they just posted
That one's gone rogue.
one could hit Earth in 3 weeks. Within the
In 3 weeks from Venus.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, have you ever seen? Because they'll do that all the time, where they'll be like, "Oh my God, this either asteroid or comet or whatever, it's the closest it's ever been." Like they'll be like, "It's like close, like holy shit, it might hit the Earth." And then when they tell you how far away, when they tell you how
3
far away
galaxies.
it is, how close it is, they're like, "It's only 120 million miles away." I mean, it's close. It's the closest that it's ever come. And you're like, that's not even a. I mean, if it bounces off our atmosphere, that's close. But if it's flying through our like, who cares?
Somebody was asking on the live last night, like, what are you concerned with? And I'm like, I'm not concerned with anything. I'm 53 years old. Every year something was supposed to have killed us, and none of it's killed us. Like, I haven't even got to see any of it. Like, I'm not concerned with any of it.
That's why I'm not concerned with.
I'm concerned about
Red
crackhead.
dye.
I'm concerned about crackhead Bob. I'm concerned that, just local shit.
Yeah.
Why aren't you concerned about red dye number 5?
Because sugar has been killing us since the 50s.
You know
We're
what?
all fine.
Do you
no,
know what?
in the 50s, sugar was okay.
Do you know what? Do you know what has been killing you since the day you were born?
Everything?
Atmosphere.
Oxygen.
Exactly.
Yeah, oxygen's been corroding your lungs since the day you were born.
As soon as you're born, you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Maiden.
So, eat all the red number 5 dye you want.
Yeah.
I mean, the Joker fell in it, and it kind of gave him superpowers.
Exactly.
Okay, so they bombed
They bombed all these facilities.
Iran. Trump says ceasefire. Iran launches a missile that comes nowhere near anything. And then the next morning or the next night, Israel goes out with 30 aircraft and bombs the fuck out of Iran. And Trump's like, you have two people two countries that have been at war so long they don't know what the fuck's going on. And he said that publicly. And that's the big to do right now is that Trump said the F word, and Biden had cussed on microphone,
But who-
not knowing the mic was on.
But, like, can that even be a talking point?
No, they
Can
have
it
so.
even be
That's
a
the point.
can
There's
it
so
even-
little to talk about that is the talking point.
Can it even be a talking point that the President of the United States used a cuss word?
How long?
If it was, if it was
How long till Ocasio-Cortez wants to impeach him for using cuss words?
if it was Jimmy Carter, then I think we need to talk about it. But you're talking about Donald Trump. I'm surprised. Well, we tend to think of him as being more crude than he really is. But I would say I'm surprised he doesn't use it more often.
When did Iran have all the hostages? Under
79.
Carter?
Carter, yeah.
Do you remember when they got released?
Yeah.
Terry Waite was one of the hostages.
Okay.
When he came home, they flew him in a helicopter and landed at Chirisanta Elementary School at the bottom of the street.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple people got off the helicopter and walked through the gate there, got in a vehicle, and took off. That's where he came. He lived, apparently, in that area there.
You can thank Ronald Reagan for that. Or, what's his name? You can thank Ollie North for that.
So what's next? Are they going to rebomb them?
No, I don't think so. Because, again, all we're doing is, the reality is, all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. We're moving the goalpost for Iran. If we can encourage Iran itself to do a regime change, then we don't have to worry about it. So we're just kicking the can down the road. Maybe we bomb again. I doubt it. I doubt we will. I am glad that Trump is handling it in the way he's handling it. If this was any other fucking president, we'd already have fucking boots on the ground. So I'm glad he's not falling for that. He's not doing it. Because again, you just said it. We're talking about people who've been at war with each other for millennia. Not my lifetime. I'm talking Christ's lifetime. They have been at war with each other. And I promise you that the state of Israel 1,000 years from now will be in a fucking conflict somewhere with some other state that doesn't agree with Israel. It's just the way it is.
So did Iran shoot down any Israeli aircraft in the last 30 days?
None. Not a peeper.
So what's their anti-aircraft?
Well, they have
Russian or Chinese?
Russian and some Chinese. I'm guessing they have some Chinese, but probably mostly Russian.
So is that to assume that Russians' air support anti-aircraft is on par with Iran?
Well, yeah, we know that it's on par with Iran
and China.
And China.
Did you see the pictures that where they shot down an F-35?
Oh, and it's huge.
And it's huge. Did you see the picture of the B-2 they fucking put up? Said they shot it. It's fucking enormous.
Yeah, they don't.
Looks like a Star Cruiser.
They have a
aspect ratio problem.
Aspect ratio problem. The reality is the Iranian. I don't think it will be long before. I don't think it will be long before someone is going to be like, the Shah the Ayatollah had a heart attack, and he's dead. I'm the new boss. Because if you take a look, like, especially like with what the Israelis have been putting out, the Israelis have been attacking Iran for a minute now. Just within the last week, they bombed 2 F-14s. Well, at least the footage they've been sending.
Oh, that's right. Iran has all the.
They bombed F-14s and they bombed Cobra helicopters. Now, the F-14s are parked in a manner. They're parked in a manner that indicates that there's no way that they were going to spin those things up and put them in the air, because it's just the way they're parked. And then the Cobras are parked in shelters too. What that tells me is those assets. Those particular assets were no longer valuable to Iran, meaning they either didn't have the pilots or they don't have the capability of spinning those things up and putting them in the air. And that's why Iran allowed those to fucking just sit out and be targets. I feel Israel, if you can, please don't bomb any more of those F-14s. Those F-14, the crazy thing that most people don't know this is the Iranian F-14s shot down more aircraft than all of the F-14s in the U.S. Navy. So those F-14s shot down more Russian aircraft than the entire U.S. Navy could even dream of.
Is that Iran's prime aircraft?
It was their primary aircraft.
Do they have anything else?
No, they don't have anything. Not at that level. Like, people still. Here's the thing. The crazy thing about the F-14. Is maybe Top Gun days. Now, people still talk about the F-14 as an aircraft capable of going up against our current.
With those pilots, not with current. I'll bet a
Yeah,
current pilot
yeah,
couldn't even fly an F-14.
Well, I mean, it depends, because you got to think. The guys that were trained to fly those aircraft by us, they got to be in their 70s or 80s. And it never really works good. It never really works out as good as if I'm like, I'm flying the F-14, and then I'm like, I'm going to teach you how to fly the F-14.
Mm-hmm.
It never really works as good that way. Outside of going to a real school that teaches you how to do it, that's all they do is teach you how to do it. So their pilots, even if they trained a second generation crew for those aircraft, they can't be as good. They're holding those aircraft together with fucking spitballs and fucking whatever they can steal. Because again, that's why we destroyed all our F-14s, was solely because Iran had those aircraft. So it's interesting, but please stop blowing them up. They can't fly them.
How did Iran get those?
We sold it to them because when it was the Shah,
And because they had them, we didn't need to keep ours anymore?
no, we kept ours. We kept ours in service for a long time. It was probably 78 when we gave those aircraft to, or maybe a little bit earlier in 78. We gave those aircraft to Iran and trained their pilots. Their pilots were trained here. And then 79, the revolution happened, and victor goes the spoils. They kept those aircraft,
Got it.
and for the most part, I don't think they killed all the pilots, and so they've had that capability because during the Iraq-Iran war, those F-14s were fucking smoking the shit out of Russian aircraft. The Iraqis would send their fucking MiGs over, and the F-14s were shooting them down. So they had them, used them effectively.
You don't think those are U.S. pilots in those planes?
No, they weren't. They were Iranian. Because again, that was at the you're
Right.
You're conflating. At that time, it was the Ayatollah in
When
charge.
did Top Gun leave Miramar?
Oh, I don't know. It had been. Is Top Gun still in Miramar?
No, it's at
isn't it?
Lemoore.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Remember, because the Navy, that base became
Oh yeah,
a
it became a Marine Corps base. Yeah, I don't
So
remember.
I lived under Top Gun
Mm-hmm.
the entire time growing up, all through high school, and we had F-14s flying over
Yeah, the
us all the time.
The F-14 crashed
Yeah,
right above my house.
yeah,
So
because they'd go out to Chocolate Mountains, and that's where they Top Gun would dogfight out
yeah.
there.
So it's an interesting thing that.
So even up to the 90s, they were flying F-14s.
So yeah, we were still flying our F-14s, but when we took the F-14s out of service, so when the Navy went to F-18s and got rid of the 14s, DOD, I don't know how soon after, because you think normally all those aircraft go into mothballs in fucking Nevada or Arizona, wherever they put those things. Once those aircraft got to the mothball facility, they had ordered to destroy them all because the Iranians were scouring around the world to try and find replacement parts, and they still do it. I think there's a couple of F-14s got put into like an air museum or whatever, and the Iranians will use third parties to find the parts that are not on the aircraft that's hanging in the thing. So that's why we had to destroy them all, because we didn't want the Iranians to have that technology. Because again, F-14 Tomcat. It flies faster than a 35. It flies faster than a fucking, what's the other one?
F-22.
F-22. It flies faster. So it has the capability to intercept.
Who has 22s?
The Israelis have 22s.
Do we?
Yeah, we still use.
Because
we have
those
the largest,
outperform the 35s, right?
Yes. So when you talk about the 22s, the technology in the 22 was so advanced. The technology in the F-22 was so advanced. Do the Israelis have 22s?
No, I don't think they do.
so.
They got 35s.
The technology was so advanced that the United States government was like, you can't sell this technology, and once the line is done, you have to destroy all the tooling. Well, was it Northrop Grumman? Anyways, whatever, they whined and went, we can't make money off of you fucking dodo birds. We make money off of the European Union. And so they were like, okay, we'll make the F-35, but don't make it as smart. And so the F-35 was technically the export aircraft, even though, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, they still bought them. because you can't buy another 22.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know, we can get aircraft. They'll give them to us.
Yeah. You can get whatever you want if you form a museum.
Yeah. Remember when we went to pick the scale up in Kentucky?
Yep.
And the GPS took it this back-ass way? Dude, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. And we come up on a steel building, and there's 20 jets sitting in front of this thing on poles and on the ground. And, dude, they had all kinds of shit.
And usually how it works is if let's say you're going to be you got to do a lot of work. I don't know if you remember...
There's some videos on how to do it.
What's that place in Vegas? It does all the machine guns.
Drive Tank or Battlefield Las Vegas.
Battlefield Las Vegas. So they only had a couple vehicles, but then they turned into the Nevada National Preservation Society. Go there now. They have a shit ton of military vehicles because they created a preservation society. They do preserve these vehicles, but you can drive a fucking M113 out there now. Usually what happens is...
There's a dude named Cheney. I'm on Facebook. I'm friends with him. I think he's been out here trained with TAC response. But I see his posts every day. I forward them to you pretty often. And he's like, we got another tank today. We got another, powered gun today. And, like, they get all this huge military. And I think that's where he's at. He's right in Vegas.
You can, if you do all the paperwork and become some sort of recognized museum, usually what happens is, especially if it's something that the military doesn't use anymore, so like
we just need a badass gate guard.
We'll just say the 113s, right? They
Is
still
that
kind
a
of
powered gun or what is that?
No, it's just an armor personnel carrier, that big aluminum square thing they used in Vietnam. Usually how they do it is you go, it'd be really cool. We're forming up the National Infantry Museum and we're doing a Vietnam dedication. It'd be great to have a 113. And if it gets approved, what normally happens is they send 2. So they'll send you 2, and they'll be like, and there'll be parts missing off this one and parts missing, and they'll just be like, make a cool one, and then you just make a cool one, and then you have all these parts that are sitting out back. That's kind of usually how they do it. That's why you'll see multiple things at places. So it's interesting.
What would you want?
I don't know how I would do it. I want an M1 Abram.
Why could you not get that?
Because I have no background association with. I can't be like, I'm opening the National Sniper Museum, and it would be awesome if we had an M1 Abram gate guard, and the Army's like, that'd be cool. Let me send you 2. Well, I take it back. We could get one. We definitely could get one now, because the U.S. Army left M1 Abrams in the hands of the Mahdi militia in Iraq. So there's a possibility that you really could go to Iraq, find a militia group that has an M1 Abrams sitting in their front yard, and be like, hey, what would be really cool? If I traded you all these AK-47s for that tank you can't run anymore. The question then would be...
How do we get it across the ocean?
Well, same way they do it with everything else.
Because we could get it.
It would go on a ship, but the question would be, would the United States allow it to be re-imported? We get kind of finicky about that kind of stuff. That when we give things away,
why can we not just get one from the United States? Because they still use them.
Well, they get a little piffy about them, but I don't know. Now that the Ukrainians have them, because the whole point is, the whole point with technology is it gets to a point where it becomes old, and what we do as a country is we kind of like, let's let everybody have it, and if everybody has it, then you got to buy me a new toy, right? So since they're being used in Ukraine,
how would we get it? We can get it to a quarter mile here on railway. How would we get it off the railway and to here? You'd
use a heavy hauler. That's all. You'd use. There is a dude somewhere in Camden who drove a tank recovery vehicle.
Hey, actually, there is a dude in Camden.
I know.
There's a museum here in
That's
Camden.
What I'm saying.
We have a guy here that had so much military equipment, and the county was fucking with him. They wanted to make him register them and pay tax on them, and they wanted him to pay road tax, and he's like, I'm not doing that. So he bought that big building at the four-way and built a military armament museum that has never been opened, not one time to the public. Yeah. He has a runway on his property, and like he'll have 60 warbirds fly in and do a fly-in at his place with all these World War II, like P-51 Mustangs and shit land on his property.
Yeah, there's a guy that because this is true with all this nuanced stuff. There's a dude that was in the Army that's all he did was drove those heavy Hemet trucks with the trailer, and he just went places, picked up tanks, drove them somewhere else, dropped them off, and then picked up tanks. And he has fond memories of that. So he's got the truck. He's got the truck that he just drives around his yard every now and then. But he don't have a tank because he's not interested in the tank. But it'd be one of those things where if you were like,
I heard you
hey,
have a tank.
I heard you got that truck. You know what would be cool? How you want to live? You want to relive some memories? Let's load a tank on it. And then he's going to be like, oh shit, I used to do this all the time. And he's going to want to come load the tank. It's like when Billy
we had that dude here for the flamethrower.
It's like when Billy got those Sherman tanks. Like, I literally was like, there's no fucking way you're getting 2 Sherman tanks from
It's a trip that you would have said that to
one
Billy.
place. Because again, it just didn't make any sense. I said, there's no, how are you going to, like, in my head, I'm like, because I like to do everything the hard way. I'm like, how are you going to put that on a fucking flatbed and drive it out with your F3 pickup, your F350 Ford pickup truck? Like, how are you going to do that? And when he explained it to me, I was like, there's no way that could possibly be true. Like, how you're going to have a National Guard unit do a training recovery on these tanks, take them to the rail yard. They're going to get loaded on fucking a train.
Who pays that ticket?
They're going to go. Billy didn't pay for any of that.
But who does pay for it? How does that happen?
Well, the National Guard thing would have been taxpayers because it was a training mission.
And they just hook it to just any random train in the yard?
And then no, he had to have it set up. So he's like, again, the problem with Billy was not problem, like a great thing, because Billy, he had his fingers in so many different pies that he knew people everywhere. And I know that's the same thing it was with the train, that it was like, oh yeah, this CSX train comes to Vegas all the time. They're going to have a rail car. You put these 2 Sherman tanks on there, and then it's going to come into Vegas, and then we're going to tow them behind the Datsun pickup truck. I don't know how. Again, I don't know how. I don't remember how he got him from the CSX yard to his house. But again, I have pictures.
National Guard did it.
I think the National Guard did that too. But I have pictures of, Billy had a ranch.
He had the tanks at his house?
Yeah, Billy had a ranch house. So he had this, whose house was that? Anyways, there was this ranch house, old Vegas ranch house outside of Vegas, but completely encroached by
Civilization,
suburban.
except for that place.
So he's got this ranch place that's kind of big, and then on his back wall, it's just townhouses and shit surrounding him, and these 2 Sherman tanks sitting in the middle of the yard. This is the coolest shit ever. Yeah. Oh man, so beautiful. I need somebody send me on a tank adventure like that. I would love to go recover.
How long were they there for?
They sat. He had all 3 of them in that yard. They sat there for a while, and then he sold one.
How the fuck do you unload a tank? Does the ramp lift up and it just kind of like falls? It rolls off because like
no, they crane lifted him. They
crane
lifted him on the at least onto the train.
Can you imagine tipping that wall a little bit with one of the train track? He knocked the whole wall over.
He sold one to Battlefield Las Vegas. It was a gate guard for a long time in shoddy condition, and then Battlefield Las Vegas completely restored it. It's now sitting by the door.
Does it run?
I bet it does. And they have pictures. They actually have pictures of it being offloaded and all that. The thing that makes me mad though is it doesn't give credit to Billy Stojak at all. But they have that there at the gate guard, and then one of them went to a place in Idaho that's all they do is rebuild them. And I don't know what happened to the third, but one of them was also on an episode of Pawn Stars. So it got completely refurbished, and Pawn Stars is driving it through the desert. So pretty badass. I mean, that's, Billy's son has got some cool toys for sure.
Is he following? Like, is he interested in all that stuff?
I haven't talked to him in a long time. My relationship with Billy was strange in the sense of I don't know why Billy liked me because I was a Marine and he was a fucking sailor. But anytime I went to Vegas, I hung out with Billy and we would shoot guns or whatever. He'd always have some new machine gun he'd want to show me. But I don't go back to Vegas to go meet people, so I haven't seen him in a long time. I don't know.
Machine Gun BB's still there.
Machine Gun BB's still there. I ran into her after Billy had died at Five Guys. There was a Five Guys that Billy would always like to go to. So every time I go to Vegas, I go to that Five Guys and eat there. And I went in there one time and I'm like, she looks familiar, and it was BB.
But without the costume. Every time I saw her, there was a big-ass fur coat, and she was like Cruella DeVille.
She definitely...
And she'd come up and sit down next to me and put her arm around me and shit at the Rifle Dynamics parties. Yeah. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? Like,
she definitely knows how to...
She'd come up and talk to me and Amanda like we were fucking long-lost friends, and we'd walk away, and I'm like, who the fuck is that? And then, like, now I talk to her on Instagram and shit, and I completely know who she was. But for a long time, I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, if you want to shoot machine guns in Las Vegas, you need to contact her. She's got all the ends. You'll have a wonderful time. It'll be hot as all get up.
She builds guns and
shit.
I see her in there fucking,
Yeah.
It's wild shit.
It is. I probably should be more friendly, but I'm not.
Why don't you go out there? You could have just went out there.
No, I needed to get
just cruise on up.
Oh no, hell no! There was a heat advisory the whole way. It was 110.
Is it hotter right now? It seems way hotter.
The RV doesn't have any. The RV didn't have any air conditioning, so it was a.
Dude, it's so fucking hot right now. My fish died in my aquaponics. It's so fucking hot.
I mean, it's hot.
Just little goldfish, like my koi are fine, but the big, like the little fish, they just fucking died.
It's hot, but whatever. Suck it up.
All right, so no concern with Iran. Just business as usual.
No, the reality is
war. They're not drafting your children.
The reality is Iran doesn't have the military capability to be.
They don't have anything that could touch us.
They don't have the military capability to be cantankerous with us.
So what about the sleeper cells?
They're dead asleep. The sleeper cells are fucking asleep. They're either here.
If something happens, it's a false flag.
They're either here and really like the falafels here and don't give two shits about what the Ayatollah has to say.
They got a good job at Amazon.
Or they ain't here. Yeah, or they ain't here.
Amazon's paying them well.
And again, the reality is this: even if there is
some true believers,
even if there is, and some shit happens, it'll be terrible. If some shit happens, it'll be terrible. But again, it's going to be such a fucking minute speed bump that nobody. I wouldn't want to be in that community and have them start popping off because it's going to not be good for them. I'm not worried. I am not. First off, I moved to a place where I'm definitely not worried about sleeper cells, and second. You have guys, you have regular dudes, like regular dudes with a 9-to-5 job who spend every fucking waking moment training like they're Delta Force. Like like these guys are begging you.
Who are we talking about?
I mean, just
all the guys we know.
Just get on the internet.
Got it. Okay.
The dirty civilian.
Yeah.
You have these guys that have literally invested thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in military equipment and military training, and you're gonna pop off some sleeper cells? Like it's not even gonna be it. Like I feel like this is how I feel. I feel like if it really popped off, by the time the FBI and by the time the law enforcement got involved, it's just going to be toe tags. They're just going to be like, how many did you kill? Oh, really? What kind of night vision is that? What do you got? Where did you get those? That's what it's going to be like. It's like there's way too many people in the United States that are just like, first off, I don't think America in general, and the rest of the world understands how many people in this country are training for war that don't have anything to do with the military?
Training for war at a higher level than dudes who
Yeah,
get trained for war.
Again, I don't think people understand that there is this huge group of people in the United States that have the technical equipment and experiences necessary to conduct warfare at a high level. Now, whether or not they're really going to do it, that's a different story. Because again, it's easy for the military to conduct operations because of all the support that's behind them. It's a little bit different when you're talking about citizen soldier, and this thing that you're going to do may put you in jail for 40 years. So I don't think the rest of the world understands that let China invade the United States. It will be a bloodbath at a level that the world has never seen since forever. Like, they won't even get off the beach. That's how many fucking... And the U.S. military will be like, what happened?
And that's in California.
What? Yeah, they're going to be like... The U.S. military is going to be like, what? Chinese paratroopers landed in Iowa. We didn't see nothing. And there's just going to be... You'll just see motherfucking... They're just going to see all these graves in some fucking cornfield and shit. Yeah, you don't... Again, I don't think people understand that we're operating on a different type of level than the rest of the world. Like, nobody does the crazy fucking military training that we do.
Did they just catch millions of rounds of small arms ammunition trying to come across the southern border?
Well, it was up north and it was going down.
No, another one.
Oh,
This happened like yesterday.
I don't know. Maybe. Whatever. Again, that's...
So what do you think about all the ICE stuff going on? People are asking me on live. They're like, are you seeing ICE? I'm like, dude, I live in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, we don't... I wish I had some Mexicans. Like they're not here.
Well, I'm gonna give you a what people what people are gonna say is 1 million rounds came across the border. 1 million rounds came across the border, and it's probably for terrorism, right?
I went to pick 1 million rounds up with Jaeger.
It's not as much
from
as
Barrett.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we taking? He's like, we're taking my truck. I'm like, what are we pulling with your truck? He's like, we're taking my truck. And when we got there, I was very disappointed in what 1 million rounds looked like.
But again, just from if you think about like what the cartel's involved in and all the things they do, if you can make ammunition in Mexico,
Oh, so they're selling it.
that is cheap, and bring it across the border and sell it for half the cost, again, you're making money. So that's what I would guess. I would guess that ammunition is coming across the border because a lot of it was Aquila, which is mostly 22 ammo.
Isn't that Spanish or something? Like, Aguila makes really good 22 ammunition, I think.
And so my guess is that ammunition is coming across the border. If it's coming from Mexico to the United States, it's to get gringos to buy it.
I was surprised when we first moved here, the gear shop was in our old sew shop. And I remember seeing a case of ammunition come in, and the case of ammunition had like a stamp on it, right? Had the tax stamp. But when they broke that case open, like they had sold out of individual boxes, they had to put stamps on each box. I don't remember who put the stamps. I don't know if it was a bureaucrat that did that or if it was an employee.
It's like 10 cents, I think.
Yeah, and they have to buy those, and those have to go on there or something.
There was one of the gun stores in Vegas that Billy adjunct, so he'd fix their weapons, and we went there one time I don't remember what it was, but it was one of the smaller ones. Like, at the time he was running, if there was a place in Vegas that was running a machine gun, he was on staff as an adjunct for repairs and shit. And we went to this small one, and I think it only had, I want to say it only had 15 lanes. So only 15 was indoor range. It only had 15 lanes. The gun store itself, portion of it wasn't that big. They had a lot of cool shit, but it wasn't that big. And we went downstairs to where they recycle all the brass. And there's a picture of me standing next to this tri-wall. It's this high, and it's full of brass. And I'm like, oh my God, I want this. I want this so bad. And I'm like, I go, Billy, how much?
That's a day.
I go, how much ammo is this place going through? And the owner was down there with us, and he's like, we buy 4 million rounds a quarter. 4 million rounds a quarter. That's why I'm saying, like, that's one gun store in the United States. That's why I'm saying people don't understand the level of...
They've never been to Knob Creek.
The level of fucking training that people do. Like, you, again, think about this. You want to learn how to operate a tank? You want to learn how to operate a main battle tank? There's a place in the United States where you can go do that. You can go. You're in the United States and you want to drive a T-72. Guess what? You can do that in the United States. Like, you can train to fly tactical aircraft.
Yeah, MiGs and shit.
You can do all that shit here in the United States. Like, the biggest Hind D collection. So Hind Ds were a pretty big deal. It's civilians that own them. Like, it's a civilian company in Texas that has Hind Ds that flies them for the Army to be like, hey, look, here we go. You know, it's crazy what you can. It's crazy the type of how militaristic we are. Like, I guarantee you, the Romans, that if Caesar could see what the United States is doing, he'd be blushing. He'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys. The way you train is unbelievable. It's interesting because, again, there are guys out there right now, regular civilian dudes, who are training at a Delta Force. Again, I put them at the top. They're training at a Delta Force level on their own dime. That's amazing. It's amazing.
So we're not worried about Iran. Nothing's going to happen.
I'm not worried about Iran. Not from a military perspective.
If something happens in the United States, it's probably not sleeper cells. It's a false flag.
Well, I said this last week. I think the biggest threat for the world, with Iran on the ropes like they are, is that we end up going back to the 70s, where it's just these terrorist organizations around the world blowing up planes, blowing up, soccer stadiums or whatever. Do we have to worry about it here? I don't think so. I mean, the reality is what most world leaders understand. What most of those countries understand is you can blow up a ship in Yemen, even if it's an American ship. You can blow up a discotheque in El Salvador, even if it's Americans that are in there. You can do these kind of things around the world. But the minute you bring it to the United States, it's regime change. We're going to turn your fucking neighborhood into a parking lot, and everybody in charge is going to die. So I think it's one of those things where what we're probably going to look at is a lot of, it just depends on how cornered they feel and how dumb they are. 1,000 cuts overseas where it's, because again, what let's just talk about what their response was. What was their response?
They fired one.
No, they fired 6. 5 were destroyed and 1 flew off into the atmosphere. But
are these Scuds?
No, they're bigger. They're bigger than Scuds. But again, what was their response? Their response wasn't what was the big thing what was the big thing last year? A huge ship off the coast of New York City flying drones into the Empire State Building? No. Their response was to attack Americans overseas, not a direct attack against the United States, because again, most Americans,
I feel like the metal shop at the high school could make a better fucking rocket than Iran has.
These are pretty good. I mean,
Who made them?
Don't get they're in-house copies of Russian missiles. They're terrible. Let's just put it this way: the missiles that they have are terrible for the type of warfare that we do, meaning selective direct strikes. Like if Iran wanted to, let's say Iran knew exactly where Netanyahu was. Like they know this is the bus that he's in, cruising down, Fifa Avenue. They don't have a missile that could hit him. They could fire 1,000 missiles and maybe kind of hit around him, but they don't have the technology for that direct strike weapon system. That's why when you hear about, Iran, or when you hear about Israel specifically targeting those F-14 Tomcats, hitting those F-14 Tomcats, No collateral damage outside of those F-14 Tomcats. And then Iran's response is they fired 60 missiles at Tel Aviv. And they hit a hospital. While the rhetoric, what people want you to think is, oh my God, the Iranians are so fucking terrible. They shot a hospital.
Accidentally.
They have not a, when they light those fucking candles and shoot those fucking rockets over at Tel Aviv, they're just hoping they hit Israel. They have no targeting capability whatsoever. It's the same thing with, it's the same thing that they do, what they did with the military, our military base. What they're doing is they're firing in the direction. So again, I say no targeting capability. They know the direction the missile's going to go. They can roughly estimate how far it's going to go. And so you can create a trajectory like that. But you can't, they're in no way, shape, or form is the Iranians going, it'd be really cool if we hit that hospital. They can't do it. They can't hit any, there's not a single target outside of we're going to shoot at Israel. They can't do it. So they don't have the military infrastructure for any of that shit. And I am sure that Iran knows that, like most of those countries, that we are a soft, cuddly pit bull on a leash. And when most Americans look at like the attack on the military base, right? They look at that. Most Americans go, those guys are kind of in harm's way. We're paying them to be out there. We're paying those soldiers to be out there. They're in kind of harm's way. It's the job they chose. We're not really looking to go to war with Iran over that. We expect a minutia of retaliation, but we're not. Yeah, no, we're not going to war over that. You blow up a fucking. You blow up a building in New York City or Los Angeles, or you start doing those type of terrorist actions in the United States. Now your days are numbered. Your whole regime is over. It's going to be a mall filled with Israelis before the summer's out. Not Americans, because we're not going to go over there. It's a hot ass desert. We got those here too. So, anyways, I don't worry about that stuff because they know better. The only reason why, you think about it. I'll bet, all told, we spent $1 billion+ just to hunt down Osama bin Laden and kill his ass. Like, the war in Afghanistan was started because of Osama bin Laden. The war in Iraq was started because of Osama bin Laden. And that's just the war. I'm talking about $1 billion just to find him and kill him. You don't come to America and start shit because we're gonna fucking finish it.
So no concern.
Again, there's a concern that there could possibly be small isolated incidents within the continent of the United States where stuff could happen, but
more likely false flag.
I would say not, because they know.
What do you think about bad actors inside the United States?
There's plenty of those. There's plenty of them. A lot of them are in Congress.
Yes, they'll do something, allow something to happen.
It's possible. Yeah.
What do you think? So next week when we come back,
we got a bunch of rhinos. Don't get me wrong. There's a fucking bunch of rhinos that want to go to war with Iran because those bitches are making money. Fuck those guys.
So next week when we come back, what do you think will have happened in the next 7 days here?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. More of the same. I don't even think. I think purely out of survival, Iran will come to the table and at least be talking to the United States. Israel will probably continue to do, because Israel don't. That's the thing. Our interests don't really align. Israel does not give two shits what we do, unless it's something they want done, right? Unless it's something they want done, then Israel's like America. But outside of that, they don't give two shits. So Israel would ruin, Israel the state would ruin peace talks between the United States and Iran if they felt it served their interests, right? So I really don't see anything going on outside of that. I don't see anything serious in the future. Trump doesn't want to go to war. And so far, that's what he's proving, is he doesn't want to go to war. And strategically, that was the smartest. That was probably the smartest play.
Every
that you
YouTube
could've done.
creator out there in the world, all of them, fucking were like, we're in World War III now.
I mean, the reality is, people have been saying
They're going to draft your kids.
people have been saying we've been in World War III since the Ukrainian war started. So,
Yeah, what's up with that? You haven't heard shit about that in the last couple of weeks.
well, again, Trump doesn't want to fight in the Ukrainian war either. The Russians are they're about tapped out. The Ukrainians are definitely tapped out. It's gonna fit. It's gonna fizzle. It's gonna fizzle. I think it'll just fizzle out. It'll just lines are gonna get established. Lines are gonna stay the way they are.
Checkpoints will be put up. Constantine wire.
Yeah,
will keep
checkpoints
their-
will be. I mean, that's the way it was the last time.
It'll
So
look like East Germany. All right, you ready to do the Q&A?
let's do the Q&A.
All right, guys, that's the podcast for today. We're going to go and do question and answer. If you're a member on YouTube or Patreon, we build a video similar to this one, based solely off of the questions you guys ask, and that's for members only. It costs $10. You can join Patreon. You can join YouTube here, and we will see you guys next week.
I built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the realest.